Usually when I make crepes, I serve it with maybe something sweet, but today I'm going to be using crepes to make a rotolo, which is a very famous Italian dish. It's kind of like a Swiss roll, and inside I'm going to add lots of cheese and spinach. It's a ripper of a dish. Now we need to make our crepes to start with, so sifting some plain flour, we'll just add that to our bowl. And I like to sift my flour for this recipe just to make sure that they're extra light and there's no lumps. So in that goes. We don't need to add any sugar to our crepe batter because this is going to be served in a savoury context. Great. And always a pinch of salt, a generous pinch of salt for this. And I'll even add some pepper. Now I'll just use my fingers here just to make a well in the centre, and I'll crack 3 eggs into our plain flour. And the last one. Now I'll get my whisk in here and just break up those eggs. And I like to add these eggs to the centre and then slowly add in our milk. And this ensures that we don't get any lumps in our crepes. So slowly adding in the milk, and you'll see that the wet ingredients are gathering in the sides of the flour and we're not getting any lumps. Now this crepe batter can be made ahead of time. Sometimes I make my crepe batter 2 or 3 days ahead of time. It will thicken up in the fridge, so just add a little more milk when you want to start cooking them. So a bit more, mix in the sides, and you can be a little rougher at this stage when you've just got about half of the milk left. Use a bit of elbow grease here, mix that up, and some more milk. Now a crepe batter is very different to a pancake mixture. A pancake mixture needs to be thick, where a crepe batter needs to be the consistency of pouring cream. When it's the consistency of pouring cream, it just makes it much easier to spread out into a pan. Now speaking of pans, I like to cook my crepes in a crepe pan. It just makes it much easier to flip. So the last little bit of milk. Excellent. Now we can start cooking our crepes. For this recipe, we're going to need 6 crepes. So in a large crepe pan, we'll turn this on a medium heat and we'll add a splash of olive oil. And just spread that olive oil all the way around the sides. Give it a bit of a jiggle. And now we can start making our crepes. Take the whisk out. Just want to show you the consistency of this again, just so you really understand how thin it needs to be. Look at that, that's perfect. Okay, crepe 1, off we go. So a ladle full in the centre, and then we want to spread it out all the way to the sides. If you don't have enough, doesn't matter, you can just re-top it and fill in the gaps. Perfect. So when it's a little wet there, just keep turning until it just sets. Pop that down. Now while these crepes are cooking, we can also get our spinach mixture ready. Some chilli and garlic. Just grab a knife. We're just going to finely chop our chilli into rounds. If you're doing this for the kiddies and you don't want to add any chilli, just leave it out. It's still absolutely delicious. But I'm a big kid and I like my chilli, so I'm adding 1 whole chilli with the seeds and all. These long chilies are not as hot as the small ones, so that's why I like to use those. I've also got a few cloves of garlic, and I'll just bruise them with my knife, and then we'll give them a chop too. And you can chop them together if you like. Excellent. Now in a large saute pan, we'll add all our garlic and chili mixture in, and a good glug of extra virgin olive oil for this. About a tablespoon. Okay, just give that a shake. Now back to our crepe, our first one. Oh, look at that. I know that's ready. It's so slippery. And what I love most about crepes is the flip. Let's see if I get it. done that a few times. So I'll cook that for a few more minutes on that side, take it out, and then I'll continue cooking my crepes. In the meantime, let's cook this spinach. So you need about 200 grams of spinach. So a lot of spinach for this, but it does cook down. So a good handful in. Perfect. And I want to season this spinach. So salt, freshly cracked pepper. And this will take moments to cook. Give it a toss. Once it starts to wilt down, take it off the heat and cool it down. We don't want it to be too hot. So while that's cooking, get the crepes done, and then we can start assembling. The crepes are cooked and our spinach has cooled down. You can see there's no moisture in the spinach, and that's because I squeezed out the excess. You don't want it to be too wet because it'll give us a bit of a soggy rotolo, and we don't want that at all. Now in here, I'll add some Parmesan. We want about a handful. Just reserve a tablespoon for the topping. Some beautiful buffalo ricotta. If you can get some buffalo ricotta, get it. It has a lovely creaminess to it. So we'll add 1 whole tub. You know what? Let's add 2 tubs of this buffalo ricotta and just break it up. And while we're on the cheese theme, I'm going to add this. This is scamozza affumicata. It's a smoked mozzarella. It's absolutely delicious. I do have maybe just a little bit too much of this smoked mozzarella, so I'll just cut off a small piece and we'll just grate this coarsely. So any mozzarella is fantastic for this because we're going to get that gooey, ooey cheese effect once this is cooked. But the smoked mozzarella really does heighten this whole recipe. Okay, and these last little bits, don't worry about grating it. I like to just break them up into small pieces. You can even just use your knife to chop it. And I might even be a little naughty and have a taste. So yummy. I love that earthy, woody flavour of this scamozza. Okay, we'll add this generous handful. And some freshly cracked pepper. Finally, some parsley. A small handful. We'll just gather that together and give it a chop. Done. In it goes. And now with my fork, we'll mash everything together. It smells so good. That little hint of chili and that garlic just really heightens this. Okay, now I need to make some room on this board because we need to form a rectangle with the crepe. So get yourself a clean tea towel. This one is huge, almost the size of a beach towel. And our softened crepes, we just want to overlap them slightly. So we'll just start from one side and then put one on the bottom. And the next one, you can see that we're not leaving any spaces, but just making it as wide as possible so it can roll almost like the Swiss roll. Last one. Great. Just press down on that. And now we can fill it with our yummy buffalo ricotta mixture. Leave yourself a 2 centimetre border. So at this stage, just place big dollops of the ricotta around the crepes. Just saves a lot of time when we're spreading it out. Okay. And then with a palette knife, just going to spread that out nice and evenly. Take your time doing this because you want it to be quite even so it rolls evenly. Okay, it's taking shape now, and you can roll this up as is, but I want to add one more ingredient, a little prosciutto. When I did try this for the first time in Italy, I had very thin pieces of prosciutto through it, so it's almost like a little touch of saltiness through it, a little touch of savouriness if you like. So I'll just grab a few slices and just tear them apart and scatter them over the top. You don't want to put too much. We don't want it to take away from our lovely ricotta. So 3 or 4 slices is sufficient. Okay, now for the fun part, the rolling. So I like to tuck in the sides. Okay, and then this is where the tea towel comes in handy because we want to roll it so it's nice and tight. So you can even flip the sides over to start with and then gather the tea towel and then just start to roll it over ever so gently, pressing down on it, and then roll again, and then press down on it, and you want it to be quite tight. And there we have it. Look at that, how great does that look? You can see where the seams are, but it is holding its shape. Now I'm just going to remove it off the tea towel. The tea towel has done its job. Put the seam side down, and we're going to cut it into rounds. But before I do that, I want to prepare my sauce. So in a large baking dish just like this one, we'll add some passata. So this is just tomato puree. I'll add about 3/4 of this. This needs to be seasoned, so a good pinch of salt, freshly cracked pepper, and I like a splash of extra virgin olive oil just to make sure nothing sticks. Just using a spoon, we'll spread this out. And now we're going to cut these into large medallions, so a nice sharp knife for this. And if you've got excess, it really doesn't matter. You can save it and keep it as a snack later or make a double whammy of this. So I like to clean up the sides first, so just top and tail it if you like. Take that bit off, it's a chef's treat. And then we want these to be about 3 centimetres thick, just like that. Just have a look how gorgeous that looks. You can see the ricotta, the prosciutto, all that spinach, and it's nice and tight. So like I said, originally this was done with pasta dough, but you can do it just as easily with these crepes. So I'll place this into the sauce, nestle it in. I'm going to continue cutting this until this is completely full. Well, doesn't that look fantastic? But we're not done yet. Just some extra cheese over the top, a small sprinkling of that scamozza. I don't want to cover it too much because I still want to see the perfect rounds. And some parmesan, small sprinkling. Done. Now the crepes are already cooked. Essentially we want to cook that sauce and allow that cheese to melt so it's nice and gooey. Well, I'm pretty impressed with this Rotolo. I love how it's crispy and golden on the top. And then as you eat your individual pieces of Rotolo, it's going to be nice and gooey in the center and then saucy from the tomato sauce. This is such a lovely dish to do and the whole family is going to love it.